we're going to go ahead and get into this next interview that was done. A lot of interviews dropped in the past 24 hours. And specifically, this is Max's first interview he's done since the post-trial interview. So y'all check this out. And shout out to Megan Kuniff over on her YouTube channel. I will drop the link to this full interview in the description, and it'll also be in the comments as well in case y'all want to go watch the whole thing. And I recommend that you do, because Megan did a great job interviewing Max Schardt and David Botts. But we're going to start here with Max talking about the trial and just his overall thoughts about what went on. Here we go.
Yeah. You mentioned Antonio Sledge. Somebody questioned, because it did seem like the prosecutors had really tried to figure something out in the last few months. I mean, their case was just way too big from the beginning, but we all saw the increased number of prosecutors, the presence of a body, the 19 witnesses in one day thing. But more significantly, we saw Antonio Sledge's probation revoked for not testifying in accordance to his plea deal. Man. And we also saw Simone take a pretty pointed stance on during Antonio Sumlin's testimony and really use his plea deal to get him to say that YSL, she definitely used it to get him to say that YSL members sold drugs out of the web. Did that kind of aggressive stance by prosecutors with Mongtong influence any kind of plea deal negotiations? I mean, did it scare people basically?
Good question.
I don't think so, because I think I could be wrong, but what did we have? 5 or 6 plea deals kind of come in succession. None of those, I think if it did anything, it made the attorneys take a hard line that we are not signing up to testify and we are not agreeing to factual acknowledgments, because none of those gentlemen signed any sort of acknowledgments to my knowledge and understanding. And so it's just, and I know Mr. Sledge's attorney. He's a great guy. He's a great attorney. And
no, Max, come on now. Stop the cap. Oh boy, I'm gonna let him finish, but Max is talking about Derek Wright. He said he knows him, so hey, I'm gonna let it go. Based on what y'all saw from Derek Wright's testimony and based on how he handled Mongtong's plea, do you all think that he's a great guy and a great attorney? Just leaving it up to y'all. Would you hire him? Let me know.
Where this really
shout out to Max though
went wrong and how Mr. Sledge ended up in this situation is just everyone, state got up and said these guys are all dangerous when it was time to go for a bond hearing, which was unbelievable to me, because no one's read the discovery like me except for maybe Brian, and I still don't understand what Ghana did. And so you're saying all these people are so dangerous they can't get bond. And then so you just have them in there, and the only way out other than 2.5-year trial is entering a plea, and then the state writes the factual acknowledgments and puts it in front of them. And then, Mr. Sledge did sign it, but we use these terms, it was freely and voluntarily given. It wasn't coercion, but
well, that's true.
You're sitting in jail without bond and you're being told if you sign a document, you go home. Like, if that's not coercion, I don't know what is.
Is that coercion if it's the truth though? Again, I'm not a lawyer, so I'm gonna let Max talk. He's the professional. But if it's true, then it's not coercion. I don't know. Man. Lavisa said Derek Wright couldn't fight my speeding ticket for me. God dang. He ended up doing 20 years probation for a speeding ticket.
So that's just imagine being an attorney representing Mr. Sledge, where he wants to get home to his sick mother, he wants to get home to his kids, and you got these factual acknowledgments, and then you're trying to thread that needle to make it happen, but also chip away at these, and the state's being difficult, and then you just come to the conclusion, well, let's do this and you can explain it later, which is what was said. And, you know,
Mhm.
I can see that happen. But to me, it's not on attorney Wright, you know, and I understand why the judge did what she did with Mr. Sledge, and I'm not going to second guess Judge Whitaker, but the problem was these guys were all locked up without bond, and so they didn't really have options. And then think
Coercion and
about
the truth.
the other people. You know, we talked about this last time, Megan, about people that weren't able to even get attorneys for so long. Like,
Yeah.
That's true.
just broken.
Yeah. And I don't, obviously you don't know
think you're right,
firsthand
Street.
the other people's situation, but I noticed Demikion Garlington was one of the ones mentioned as having his charges dropped. And just based on everything we've heard in trial, that makes sense. But when I was looking at why he wasn't on trial in this case, I saw something about how it was because he didn't have a lawyer. That's why he was severed early on. Do you know, has that situation changed at all?
My understanding is, I think he has 2 lawyers now. One I know well, and he's a great lawyer. So, you know,
Oh boy.
hopefully things work out. But it looks like they're, you know,
Is
I'm
it
not,
Derek
I
Wright?
have no inside information about any negotiations or anything going on.
Yeah. Do you think the attention that the trial got might have contributed to some lawyers taking attention to this case? Because before the circle was so small, it was criminal defense lawyers in the Atlanta area, but you've probably been contacted by, I mean, have you been contacted by attorneys around the country? Is there more interest in this from people trying to help or offer advice? Maybe unwanted advice.
Offer advice.
That's funny.
Attorneys, no, I've received several dozens of emails from different attorneys, even from prosecutors, like from different states, saying, you know, keep fighting, keep pushing, and you know, and
That's awesome.
congratulatory emails when this came through. Now, advice, if I had hair, I would have pulled it out, because Megan, I appreciate everyone.
Yeah.
But gosh darn it, people, the internet sleuths that acted like I didn't know what was on that drinks video, and acting like I wasn't going to bring it up, and I needed to be told, and I needed to be tagged in every
That's funny.
post, and I needed to be called, and voicemail after voicemail after voicemail from every state in the union. And our friend Thugger Daly actually did me a solid.
That. Yeah.
And he's like, I think Max knows what's on the video. Y'all can stop tagging him.
Yeah, and we kind of said the same thing when we reacted to it. Y'all were like, oh, you should send it to Max. I said, nah, I'm going to leave it alone. I know Max has probably watched this 50-11 times. If y'all want to tag him and email him, you can. But I left it alone, too. I think it's funny because Doug Weinstein even mentioned this, too. And we read Doug Weinstein's tweet about it. He's like, hey, y'all, Max Schardt's a brilliant lawyer and attorney. He's got this under control. You don't have to keep tagging him in every single time about the third white car, or the fourth car as they call it. But yeah, hey, listen, somebody said in the chat, we were just making sure you got it, Max. It's all love.
Yeah, let Max cook, I think he said.
Yeah. And I was so appreciative of that. I understand the interest, but it was kind of like, wait a second, I'm asking these questions in a way that are leading you to the conclusion, but you don't think I know what the conclusion is. Like, that's why I'm asking these questions. Yeah. And the other thing is, you know, I was kind of thinking I'm holding something in my pocket that maybe the other side might not be 100% on right now. So I'm like, y'all are telling my secret right now.
We telling the secret. Right. I mean, hey, let's be real. Do y'all think the prosecution, as bad as they were, do y'all think the prosecution didn't see that they fumbled the bag with the third or fourth car, whatever you want to call it? They had to have known that it was going to be brought up. I mean, they called the medical examiner in there, which I'm still shocked, even after seeing all of that they called the medical examiner that basically made this whole case for Max Schardt. Max didn't really have to say anything, which is why I think he only brought it up a few times. It was like, hey, so you're telling me that he couldn't have possibly moved? Yeah. And he moved after Shannon left? Yeah. Okay. No further questions, Your Honor. The state, I mean, the state, if they miss this, then they're a lot worse than we thought.
They made it pretty clear that they were paying attention to the social media hype. I think that's one thing that could be studied in law schools, and there could be a big ABA journal article about what it was like for the attorneys and just the court staff and everyone to have so much publicity on this case and how that changed things in the courtroom. I mean, or if it did, I mean, how it definitely changed things for you guys just in how you dealt with your everyday lives and kind of trying to deal with this. But did it change what you did in the courtroom or help you or sometimes hurt you just as you worried it might become a distraction?
To me, no, I didn't pay attention to it. Max and some of the others were on constant look at the computer to see what comments were.
That's funny that they were watching.
And some of the comments would be helpful, and some of them were just totally by people that were unaware of what was going on. But yeah, it has some influence. It's just the way things are nowadays, is that people do pay attention to social media. And a lot of the trial was all about social media.
It's true.
Yeah.
That the defendants had taken part. It was a huge part.
Yeah.
Well, that was one of my disagreements with Shannon was the different feeds. I liked Law and Crime when things were bad. I like getting the perspective of non-jurors. And, obviously there's a lot of YSL fans and, that they were always going to say, but there was some people that were more objective. And I like seeing negative comments because I know what's out there and what I need to worry about.
Yep.
But Shannon, he didn't like seeing negative comments. So he'd always want to get out of more. And I said, Shannon, seeing the negative comments helps us because we know what we need to do. Right. But that was kind of a funny thing.
That's funny.
But yeah.
So they came over to our channel.
How did the clients and Shannon and keep up with all the coverage? Was there, because I mean, we saw you guys at the defense table, and it's
do that,
like
right?
There is a legitimate legal strategy to reading these comments. It's not like you're just screwing around on the internet when you're doing that. So did you have set times that you would kind of do updates, or was it just periodic that you would look at things?
We would just look at things periodically.
Yeah. Gosh.
When you're not actually talking or cross-examining or presenting evidence or anything like that, and you got time, and there was a lot of kind of off time when we knew what the witnesses were going to say and what cross-examination would be, that we had to watch the trial and see the comments. And so, yeah, it was helpful. And Shannon was especially, it's kind of boring sometimes to him. And so he would be active in the part of, in telling us things that they're saying, or what do you say about this? But we let him do that because that's what he's used to.